Hello, everybody. So today we are chatting to Zam, and I'm excited about this conversation because she has a really impactful before and after situation that we were just chatting about. And yeah, it's really exciting when you can go from having eczema all over. It was predominantly on your arms, your hands. I think you said your chest as well. And she's a massage therapist, so she's using her hands all the time. So it's really, really hard when you're client facing. These are your main tools. You have eczema everywhere. And then there is that flow-on effect of it impacting every aspect of your life. And if you have eczema, you understand it's not just that physical pain, but it affects you emotionally, your relationships, your work, your social life. And Sam's a social person. So when you get to the point where you don't want to be going out, it is really, really hard. And it's also hard too, because Sam's one of the smaller percentage of people that we work with who developed it as an adult. So it is hard when you've never experienced rashes before and all of a sudden rashes just explode everywhere. So we're gonna have a nice chat about her journey and some of the big aha moments in her healing journey. So welcome, Sam. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's rewind to the start and have a little chat about where you were before starting the Love Your Skin program and your healing journey before then.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I came across with your program, I recently started my massage career as well. So yeah, I had a new job. This was like just the end of summer. Everything was going well, super excited. And then 2 weeks after I started there, I broke out in hives. My forearms, my elbows. I was not able to go to work one day. I took pictures, sent it to my manager at the time, and explained my situation. So in the beginning, I thought it was an allergy to one of the products. And then it just became something really, really gnarly. So yeah, I started with hives and then just became this like rashes, became really red, really inflamed, lots of heat, very itchy. I was not able to sleep. I was not able to be at peace at night. I was feeling very irritated. So yeah, this kept going for months and months and months. This is like end of summer 2021, moving forward. Went to a doctor, gave me a corticosteroid cream. It went away and then it came back with vengeance. And then months kept going by. 2022 came and that's when I was like starting to, because I just kept ignoring it. I was like, oh, I'll go away. I just have to work. Just ignoring it. And people kept like giving me possible solutions. Maybe it's your gut, maybe you're stressed, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And I'm like, well, but that's kind of normal. Really feeling very disconnected. And then yeah, months kept going by, kept getting really bad. And then finally I started diving into the internet, tried so many products in between, so many different creams. And that's when diving on the internet, I came across your program. The algorithm found me, I guess. And then, yeah, I just kept reading and then watching like, some of the videos from like the regular Facebook group. And then, yeah, kind of like, okay, what's my gut telling me about this? And gave it a try. So I joined the group in May 2022. Yeah, beginning of May. And yeah, like moving forward, like here we are. I mean, I'm done now, quote unquote, but yeah, that's like the fast version of it. It just became really aggressive, very aggressive. There's pictures that you're more than welcome to share. Yeah, they're gnarly. I even see them now and I'm like, oh my God, how did I do this? It's just too much. Yeah, it's intense.
It's wild when you look back at the pictures after you come out the other side. It's just like, oh, how did I live like that? But in the heat of the moment, it's just you can't not scratch, and it's just so irritating. And you just watch it like it's almost like a wildfire, right? It can just continue to grow and spread. It's it's just really wild to experience it if you've and like for somebody who's never experienced it, they would never understand.
Yeah.
And then you do go down the rabbit holes of trying so many different things, and then that can create a level of anxiety, and then that
Oh,
stress and anxiety can make it worse, and then it's just this big snowball.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's exactly it. Like I tried so many things among the products. Like I went to an osteopath and I was doing chiro and massage. And I mean, I'm lucky to have a clinic here. I get like free services, but the rest that I had to invest in it, like went to see a homeopath and tried like Chinese acupuncture and Japanese acupuncture, like you name it. And I was about to go see a naturopath, and it's like, oh, that the stress, like also not being able to work because I was in so much pain, like I was debilitated, I was in complete like almost like shut down mode. I was like the rashes spread through my neck and my chest, and then I had them on the sides of my body and even like near my groin area, my back, like it was just insane. So yeah, that stress that you mentioned, it was very like tangible
Yeah.
and very scary because like I thought that was gonna be me forever. Like I thought it was the end. I'm like, what's happening? It was very intense. Yeah.
Yeah. And you like you can spiral into a dark place because you're just like, is this how I have to live my life now? And then you just think of your relationships. Like for me, I felt bad. I was going to bed with socks on my hands. And I'm like, this is not like a good way. And like, you're not intimate, you're really short, you're not sleeping, and it is really hard. And you're just like, I can't work, I can't do all these things. So it is a really, really daunting experience when you're in the depths of it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. I was depressed. Like April 2022 was the darkest. I'm gonna say one of the darkest periods of my life, to be honest. Like I got severely depressed. And yeah, I feel very isolated and like just nobody really would understand what I was going through. I wasn't really sharing much at the time because I was just like trying to put the pieces together. My relationship too, like with my husband, like it got like really, tricky at some point. It was very challenging year. But in hindsight, like now that like, okay, oh wow, like there's so much growth and there's so much resilience and so much understanding now of, oh, like I knew like logic wise, I knew everything was interconnected, but it's not until everything is embodied that can be fully understood. That is like, oh no, for real, everything is interconnected, you know?
Yeah. And thanks for sharing that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are watching this that are in that moment and feeling like they're isolated, alone in a dark space. And, even if you have a loved one that loves you and wants to care for you and help you, there's nothing they can really do in that space because they don't understand what it's like and they don't have the tools. So it can be a really dark space. So it's nice to hear when you can chat about where you were and where you are now. And when you're on the other side, it's hard to realize it when you're in the depths of it. But when you're on the other side and you've gone through it, it is a space for growth. And it is really beautiful when you can look back and you're like, okay, that was a challenging time. I got through it. And it does give you confidence that, okay, if my rashes do come back, I know how to manage it. So it doesn't have to get to that point. So you don't have to go into that dark space again, which is empowering.
Oh yeah, it's so liberating. It's very freeing. And then like the whole like mental physical component, sure, it's spiritual for sure too. It's been like a huge spiritual journey of like shedding layers of, because I was also simultaneously I'm still going to therapy, but just like shedding layers and layers and layers of like, oh, this is like like sure the skin is the surface, but there's
Mhm.
so much depth into it, there's like this metaphysical aspect of it, and yeah, it's just very powerful. And the levels of resilience now, because I used to complain a lot, and I'm aware that sometimes that can come across like being hyper positive, and I'm obviously I work hard on not to bypass anybody or to deny anybody else's experience. If anything, it has given me the tools to be more compassionate, because I know physical pain is a real thing, but it's also very subjective, you know, like you can't really experience what other people are feeling. So understanding that level of resilience of like, oh yeah, like this is bothering, what, let's say X situation is bothering me right now, but I've been here, this high of stress. This is okay. I'm okay. Right. So that's been the biggest thing for me of like, oh, I'm resilient. This is awesome.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. It's always in hindsight, right? And you can view challenging periods at whatever point in life as the end of the world. It's a catastrophe. It's the absolute worst. But every time you go through one, you get more confidence. It's like, okay, I got this. I got this. Okay. I have the tools to move on. I've gotten through that. It's nice when you can shift that around. And like you were saying, the brain skin portion of it is so big. And like, I remember actually on the onboarding calls and we're chatting about it, you're like, oh, because we were talking about the health history and you're like, okay, I understand why. Like all these like little cues, whether it's physical, emotional, I get why I'm at this point now, because I was just ignoring them, which is common. And like, this is classic, getting eczema as an adult. There's all these little telltale signs, and then the body's just like, can't do it, too much, lost resiliency, rashes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. Just putting all the pieces together of like, oh, chronic stress, it's a thing. Yeah. And that's the thing too of like too much stress. We need stress, like it makes us resilient, and it will never disappear. It's just delusional to think otherwise.
Yep.
However, like, oh no, my levels are like you were saying the bucket. Like I like that analogy of the bucket, and not the bucket was like just over.
It was like a waterfall. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was intense for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you like, when I've like with Karen, the psychotherapist, and other therapists that I've spoken to about eczema, it's all the conversation of, okay, if you just suppress emotions, for them, eczema is just emotions that have been suppressed coming out through the surface. They haven't been dealt with. You shed it through your skin, that emotional layer. And then that has an impact on your gut and can be hormones. And it just has that flow-on effect because, like you're saying, everything's connected. So it's hard. People are just trying to go see, and I did it too. Homeopath, I did acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine, I did naturopathy, I did all of art and psychologist, I did everything, but it wasn't all connected, and it was all done at different times. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. And not go wrong, but they're just missing the connection that does have to all be done simultaneously.
Yeah, well, that's right. Like, and that's the thing, that one of the things that I enjoy about your program is that you had this very specific segments of like, this is the brain skin series, this is the skin gut series, this is the this, the that. And it just made everything make a lot of sense. It was well organized, but it was also like, oh yeah, all these like systems are being impacted by this. Like how the layers again, how is all of this globally being impacted, right? And how is this working simultaneously? It's too much to like fathom and try to comprehend all at once. But it's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah. But it's really like when you can understand that it is all connected. And you know, we say all these things all the time, and people would just watch the interviews. They're like, people just say it's all connected, being in tune with your body, what your symptoms are telling you, but it is a thing. And it's hard when people start because they're dealing with a lot, because it's never just eczema. So it's going to be some gut symptoms. It's going to be stress, anxiety, can be hormone imbalances, stuff's happening in relationships. They don't realize it's all connected. But when you can connect those dots and like understand the missing pieces of the puzzle, put it all together, it's just, you have that aha moment and you're like, oh, okay, I get it now, which helps you as well down the road long term. So if one of those pieces, or we call them pillars, if one of them aren't aligned, you're like, okay, this is the one that I need to be working on, because it's never going to be perfect. There's going to be challenges. You might get rashes. Most people get rashes again, but you understand, okay, now I know what I need to be doing if it comes back.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. It's like the application of it, right? Like as creatures of habits, it's like I know what I should be doing.
Yes.
Am I gonna be doing it? You know? And that is the thing. That is the thing that I'm personally, I think this is like the ongoing journey for everybody, but for myself is like I have all this information, I have felt it, I have lived through it. I will like I made a commitment to myself to like never let me go like that again, you know, to like never really ignore like what I'm going through. And it makes me emotional. This is like a powerful commitment of like, no,
Yeah.
I matter, I am important, I'm in
Mhm.
service to the world through my career, but I
Yeah.
need to take care of myself. And if I don't, how can I embody that wellness that is pertinent to my career, let's say? You know, how can I take care of others if I'm not really like pouring into my cup? So it's super cliche, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. And it's really powerful because a lot of people, especially with eczema, we always talk about how there's commonalities in personality types. It's people that are carers, they're givers, doing for other people, people pleasing, saying yes. Like we're all guilty. They're in roles where they're taking care of others, like you, nutritionists, there's crisis workers, there's teachers, and it's always giving. So when you can have that realization that, and like that's, if people can come out of the program and have that realization, I was just like, yes. But it is, you need to be taking care of yourself, number one, because you get to the point where you can't. And that's where people usually hit rock bottom. And it is very cliche. There's all these cliche things, but when you're going through it, it's just like, it just means so much more when you hear it. Like you have to love yourself first and take care of yourself first, because it's true, when you've been on the opposite side of it and you can't even take care of yourself, it's a lot.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's the juice. That's life's juice, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, you've already named a few, but what would you say would be a big turning point for you with your skin
Um,
or your
well,
journey?
through my journey, oh man, honestly, like the biggest turning point for me was to sit down and realize that healing is not linear,
Mm,
and whatever time was going to take, I was just committed to do it. And again, I'm not like my skin is healing is completely different than what it was 6 months ago. Still,
yeah.
you know, in some places very dry, but it's
Mm,
there. Like I can see the difference, and it's like wow. Like honestly, I just reflect and I just get so emotional because it's like, how is this even possible? Like this is amazing. But yeah, that was just the biggest turning point. Just like slow down, like really
yeah.
slow down. What's the rush? I was
Yeah.
in a rush. Like I felt like I was running from I don't even know what, like the setting this like timeline of like I need to be doing this by this time and it has to be perfect. And that's another characteristic with this condition. It's like the perfectionism. It has to be like this and control, like control, 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 and wanting to hold onto what? Onto
Mhm,
what? Right?
mhm.
So that's like the biggest thing, just slow down. And now like when I start feeling like, whoo, I'm a little bit more stressed today. Okay, what? Slow down. Whatever needs to wait can happen tomorrow. You
Yeah.
need to go to bed, shut down your computer, care. Doesn't matter. You put your hours today. Moving on. It's
Yeah.
okay. That's the biggest thing, really, slowing down for me.
And that's huge
Oh,
because that's like, it's moving so fast, and there is a control aspect of it too. Like when you start digging deep, right? There's stress, anxiety, overwhelm, but why? Right? Okay, is it a level of I can't control something, so that's what I can control? And then it's also, we have this, when we talk about your nervous system and the different nervous system states, the fight and flight, rest and digest, right? We're in that fight and flight, and then like I've noticed it in myself too. If there's been something that's happened and I track my heart rate can go up as high as if I'm doing sprints or doing like high intensity exercise with just a level of stress. So my body is literally thinking that there's a threat or that I'm at like my max capacity in terms of working out when you're just sitting there from stress. So it's always a good tool just to think, oh, I'm not dying. There's nothing like life-threatening happening, even though your brain will literally perceive that. So just being able to have that dialogue and just slow down is the biggest tool. And that will be the biggest piece of the puzzle for managing your eczema long term. So well done.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, thank you. And I think really with anything else, really, because stress is the culprit for so many dysfunction in the body, really. And
Yeah.
understanding that and seeing it even with my patients, like I feel like this journey has made me a better healthcare provider too, you know, like not only more empathy for the clients that come see me, but also like, oh no, like your body's shutting down for this, like, and again, seeing it in a more holistic way of like, how are you doing mentally? How are you taking care of yourself? How's your nutrition? How's this? How's that? And just seeing the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And stress, yeah, it's just the culprit really is so much that we, and so many other factors, right? But my grandpa died from stress, really, you know?
Well,
So it's huge. It's huge.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said too, like stress isn't the enemy. It's just the inability to be able to cope with it. That's the problem. And being able to have high stress, slow down, come back down again. So then if you have high stress again, you can manage it. Because if it's just high, 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 you lose resiliency and it becomes unmanaged. But it is interesting too, because when we look at the body holistically, there is that level of stress. And I'm sure that you see it all the time. You hold stress in your body and you can hold trauma in your body as well. So do you notice that with clients? Can you notice when they're like
Oh
really
yeah.
different areas in their body?
Oh yeah. Big time. Big time.
Yeah.
Like upper traps, this region, just
Mhm.
everything. Holds everything. This region to the neck, like upper, yeah. Always.
Yeah.
No matter, the
Yeah.
same thing with lower body issues, hips, in women in particular. Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah.
a landmine. A lot of emotional connections there. A lot of grief and not being able to let go and holding onto things, and because like obviously it's the center of gravity for us, right? So that's what we hold everything, and closer to our womb. And yeah,
Mhm.
it has sparked more interest for me too, into more somatic level of training. That's a project down the road, but I'm like, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah. There's a book we suggest in the program, The Body
But
Keeps the
keeps the
Score.
score.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Or also when the body says no. That's
When the
another
body
really
says
good one.
no. 𝗪𝐸𝐿 also has a new book out too on trauma. Yeah. It'll be so I
Yeah.
haven't read it, but Karen on the Brain Skin series the other day said it was an audio, and I was like, okay, that's gonna be me.
Yeah. Speaking of books, another book that I will highly recommend in terms of like this interconnectedness and everything, it's called Inflamed.
Okay.
Um, let me just quickly like look at my notes here. I'm listening to it. I haven't finished it. Interesting fact, one of my friends, she's interviewing the author this week in Toronto. And
Ah,
it's called Inflame, Deep Medicine and the Anatomy of Injustice
cool.
by Rupa Maria and Raj Patel. I can send it to you, but it's
Cool.
an amazing book. It's just like cooking my brain for sure.
Nice. I'm sold.
Yes, it's a good one. It's a really good one. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So before you started the program, did you have any resistance? Like, was there any like objections? Did you have any funny feelings? I don't take any offense.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think it's very, very common. I did not have much resistance
Okay.
because I knew I needed to do something different. And at that point, I was getting more connected to my gut feelings, really, to my intuition. So I'm like, no, this is good. Like this, let's try this. And I did keep getting like doubts and resistance from people outside of me. For example, my husband, he was like, that's a lot of money. Like, why are you spending that much money? Like, because there's a pattern, like in me in the past, me spending too much money on things that didn't work, or found out people that didn't have the best intentions. And so there was a pattern there. And then for him, his like bulb was like, hey, what are you doing? Like, I don't think this is good. So I just didn't care. I was like, this is for me. For the first time ever, I need to do something for myself because I'm forced to, in a way. It's my health, it's my long-term investment for my health. And so I was like, no, I'm gonna do it. And then yeah, it's an investment for sure, but the best investment ever, honestly. Like it just has given me so many tools. And yeah, like to me it's kind of like the beginning of, it's a foundation. And then the long term is like, okay, this is more affordable, let's say, because I have the tools to take care of myself. So yeah, that was really not much of a resistance from me, but people outside of me discrediting or disbelieving, like, oh, you're gonna get scammed. Oh, like, how do you know this is real? Like, oh, like, be careful. Oh, this is that. So yeah, it was interesting to see how other people got triggered by it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and they're just trying to protect you too. So it's just out of love. But yeah, when you're at that point in your journey, it's just, well, I've tried other things and it's not working. And yeah, when you can come into a community of people who have been through it, been through the pain, come out the other side, you start realizing, okay, it gives you hope. Okay, there's something I can do.
Yeah.
And like you said, it is an investment, but you have the foundations now. And the thing is that people come out of it and just exactly like you said, they start reading up on different aspects, what resonated, either the brain skin, the gut skin, and you start educating yourself. So it is that foundation where you can continue to grow and research and understand different parts of you, which is really beautiful. So it's nice. Yeah. Like that was just like really, really touching for me that this is just the beginning of your journey. So that's great.
Yeah,
Well
yeah,
done.
no, of course, no, of course. Like and I was talking to Kessia the other day too, because like she was the one. I feel like I always butcher her name. Is Kessia?
Cassia? Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, sweet. Okay, awesome. Yeah. And then like yeah, like she was the one who interviewed me in the beginning, and like she was super compassionate, and I felt like back in April, like and I get emotional because like even if it was just like a Zoom interaction, like the level of presence that she had with me, and
Oh.
and really like, oh, I hear you, like I'm sorry you're going through this, like, but there's hope, like offering that hope. I was like, oh, I just feel really relieved at that point, even though I didn't know how it was gonna turn out, even though I just honestly my expectations were like, I don't know, we'll see, right? So yeah, like you and her and pretty much like every member of your team, like that is pretty much like committed to put all these pieces together and help other people. That's the mission, really. Help as many as possible. Yeah, you're doing a wonderful job, and I think you're fulfilling your mission, and I think that's really beautiful. So I'm
Oh,
grateful for you. Yeah,
oh, thank you. Oh,
yeah,
that means yeah. And it's beautiful to have, I mean, everybody on the team just has so much passion, and they want to help people because we've all been on our own health journey. So we know how when you don't have your health, you have nothing and how it affects every aspect. So I'm glad that you felt supported and you have the tools. And I'm glad that you had that nice call with Kes too, because it is important at the beginning, because it is about just feeling heard and feeling seen. Because when you've been to so many doctors and other practitioners, you like, yeah, that part of it's really isolating. And like, I remember when I got to the point where I was just like giving myself bleach baths. I'm like, I smell like bleach all day. This isn't working. And I'm like literally going
Wow.
like, for me, that was like rock bottom. And I was like, I'm desperate to do anything. But then you go to all these people and it's just, yeah, it's hard. It's, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like a landmine, as you say, in the body. It's like that in your head too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, no. And that is the thing too. It's like, oh, it's just rashes. It's like, no. No, it's not. No, it's
Yeah.
not. And that's like where it was creating like a discrepancy with even me just like communicating and coming out of my shell, let's say. And I wore long sleeves for months and it was winter here. So I just kept everything hiding. And back to this first festival that I went in May, and when my friends actually saw my skin and they were like, holy, like we didn't know you were struggling this bad. Are you okay? Like, tell us, right? And that was just kind of like, oh yeah, okay, I'll tell you, right? And this is what it
Yeah.
is. And I was just so like, nah, whatever, it's another day. And they were
Yeah.
like, how are you doing this? Like, how are you working? Yeah, they had zero idea, like just
Yeah.
zero. I made my mom cry, just like, oh, she was just wanting to help so desperately. And she seeing me in pain. She was like, what can I do for you? And I'm like, I don't know. It was intense. It was very intense. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is so common for people with eczema to hide. It's like hide under long sleeves or cancel plans, hide at home. And then just it does get to the point where you just isolate yourself. But I do want
Yeah.
to say, well done for speaking out, because it is hard to have those conversations. But once you can get it off your chest, because it's a level of you don't feel confident and then you wonder what other people are going to think, they're going to judge you. But when you actually do have the conversations, people are just wanting to support you and making sure you're okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly it. It's like the core of every human.
Hmm.
We just want to help others, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. And so let's chat about your the big moment when well, before you went to a festival, and you had the rashes, it was really hard. And then tell me about when you went to the festival a second time and what that was like.
oh yeah. So this was probably like a couple of weeks ago. Same location. We went to the same location. It was just as dusty. It was camping, right? It was camping, and this time I didn't have access to showers. We were just like kind of like hanging around, baby wiping, festival life. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
yeah, like it was such a pleasant experience, just like to be wearing whatever I wanted, not to be worried about like, oh, what's the outfit gonna be, and what if I'm overheating and this and that, just little details like that. I wasn't wearing gloves anymore because my husband, he's a comedian, so he has quite a sense of humor. So he roasts me, okay? He's master roaster. Oh,
Okay.
it's criminal sometimes what he does, what he says.
Never a dull
Oh,
moment, but
never a dull moment. So he's like, oh, you're not bringing your hee because Michael Jackson will be like hee, like the sound. So so he will call my tee. He's like, oh, you're not bringing your tee this time. I'm like, no, I'm not. So yeah, that was really pleasant. There were these like cotton gloves that just helped me push through things, right? But nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great. I had a great time. I didn't worry about anything. I wasn't nearly as itchy. I was able to like dance no problem and perform no problem. Yeah, it was great. It was so great. And just like be with my friends and be present and talk and get into this really like deep conversations. And yeah, I came back so recharged. I came back so festivals are usually like that, I find, but like this one was very um almost like a spiritual thing, like I was in the middle of the dance floor at some point, and I'm just like having a good time. I'm just looking at my friends and I'm just like, oh, life is good right now. And then I just like closed my eyes at that point, and then I just like felt this like wave of gratitude washing over me, and it was
Nice.
very impactful. It was also like a full moon. It was crazy, like crazy energy going. It was amazing. It was really good. Yeah.
I just got goosebumps. Those moments when you're on the dance floor, I'm like, yeah, those are the good ones.
Oh, yes. Yeah, those
Yeah.
are the goodies. Yes, they are.
And that's a big transition because you were saying before when you went to that festival, you had gloves, there was a level of stress and anxiety, can't wear the clothes that you want. And a big thing is like, you go to festivals to dance, be with friends, and have those deep conversations. So it's a beautiful transformation when you can actually go and do all that. And especially being in the same place too, because it's very, very common for people to, if they've had a challenging period in a place, there can be a lot of anxiety going back. So it's really nice that you were able to go there, disprove the stories that might have been happening in your head, and just have fun and let loose. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, it was very powerful. Like it was a very, wow, what a dual experience in here. It's like a vortex just open, and I woke up on the right side of bed and this was the left side of bed. It was surreal.
And like what a beautiful like little metaphor with your healing journey, the before and
Yeah,
after. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that pretty much like summarizes it. Like that festival summarizes it for me. Of like, wow, this is a milestone. And then along the lines of like finishing the program here too, and before going into the festival, getting results like from the GI map and being like, oh, and what is this and what do you mean? And yeah,
Yeah.
it's been um painful, a lot of pain, but also
Yep.
a lot of growth and beauty from it. So that's
Mhm.
usually how it goes, I guess.
Yep. That's challenging periods. Some people miss the opportunity for growth, but when you do, it is beautiful when you can actually walk into it and embrace it and see, okay, what could I do? What can I do better? What did I learn? That's a beautiful part of the growth.
Yeah,
And that gives you resiliency. So if you do go back to that point, you're like, I got this. It
yeah,
might be challenging, but I can get through it.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. So do you have any words of wisdom for either people who are still struggling with their eczema or people maybe that are just getting started on their eczema healing journey?
Yeah, I'll say to really pace themselves and really trust that whatever they're going through right now is not going to be forever.
Mhm.
And I think we have a tendency to think that because things are really bad at some point in life, that will determine the rest of our existence. And it's not the case.
Mhm.
So really trust the journey, do the work. It's very uncomfortable, it's very challenging,
Mhm.
and it will change a lot of how one thinks, like how perception, like perception has been huge for me. Like what's uncomfortable, what's like cold even, like what's
Mhm.
it's super itchy or whatever, like this contrast. So yeah, just really trust, put the work on, and the more it's a constant journey, like the little actions every day, it's like the daily grind in a good way,
Mhm.
knowing when to stop and be like, okay, today I'm gonna take a break and I'll go back at it again tomorrow. And yeah, just lots of trust and surrender. That's like my main thing. Like trust and surrender and know and and feel it, even feel that it's gonna be, I kept visualizing. I had moments of like visualizing myself like, and I'm healthy and I'm this and like by this time I'm better.
Mhm.
And it can be tricky because sometimes what if it's not, right? What if
Yep.
that disappointment of like, oh, but I thought I was gonna be better by then. But that helped a lot. That really helped to kind of just like feel it, like, oh, how does healthy feel again? How does cheerful feel again?
Mhm.
How does like being open and loving and caring feel again? Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I think that would be the best advice that I can give. Trust and surrender.
Yeah. And that's great words of wisdom because there is a level of sitting with discomfort. So for some people that doesn't feel good and they'll repel against it. And it's one of those things where it's, there's that gut feeling. And a lot of times people will say, okay, I didn't feel good, or this doesn't feel right, but then they give up. But there's always going to be a level of discomfort that you have to sit in to get to the next step. So it is hard because you do, like, especially with the program, you do put in the work. And at the beginning, it takes a while for everything to shift because it's taken your body years to get to a state of dis-ease. So then to heal it, it doesn't just take 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months. It's usually around like month 3 or month 4, everything that you've been doing, like it all clicks. And then you're like, okay, yeah, I can see that shift. But it is, you do need to just be able to stick with it, and trust the process and slow down. Like you said, these are all just like very, very, very impactful gold nuggets. So for anybody who's just starting the Love Your Skin program, definitely anchor in on that. Or for people who might just be at the complete beginning of their healing journey, understanding that it does take time, because you can get frustrated and thinking that, oh, I'm going to take a supplement, or I'll do therapy, or I'll do a protocol for, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and have these big expectations. But like, we're always honest with people, it does take time.
Oh, well, yeah. And I think like the culture that we live in today, not to trash the culture or anything, but it's a constant instant gratification culture we live in.
Yeah.
We have to have it because we just snap our fingers. We have to have it now. And I think that has played a huge role as to how we can perceive things and how they should be, and that linear perspective of like, okay, this has to be like this. And it's like, no, it's just not. And everybody is so different. Everybody's body is so different, right? And it's sure we have like somewhat the same composition, but there's so much history within our DNA and so many variables, really, right? And really, like, it goes down to put in the work. That's why I say to my clients, if you're not going to be doing your home care, it's not going to work. Yeah. I can give you all the tools, I can push you, and I'm here, and I can send you all the emails you want, and I can send you reminders. If you don't put up the work, nothing is gonna progress. That's just the reality of it. How about you want it? How about
totally. I'm glad you said that too, because now, like, within the program too, like for some people, you have that conversation where it's like, I can't come into the room and hold your hand. You're the one that has to show up, you're the one that has to make the changes, and you're the one that has to want to. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, it does mean hitting rock bottom to have that level of discipline to be able to do it. But it is, you do have to show up and do the work, because otherwise nothing's going to work, right? Be back at square one, you go back to default, and that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's falling down into those patterns of like, nothing works. I've tried everything. It's like, have you?
Yeah. Yeah. When you start blaming everything else around you, that's when you have to shine the light and be like, oh, is it just me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Deep cuts are there.
Oh, I love it. It's easy to say it now when we're on the other side.
Oh yeah, of course. It's always like that, right? It's always like, yeah, it's easy. Like, you just watch me. I just did it. No, it's really hard. It's really, really hard. But it's worth it. It's worth it. And it's never ending. That is the other thing too. It's like, what's the next challenge? Not that I'm looking for a next challenge, really. Like I do like, the interaction with the world, and okay, what else do I have to learn? Sure. But now it's like, okay, what's next?
But it's a great shift when you can change that mindset, because it's not happening to me, it's happening for me. So okay, when something happens, it's just, and in the program we talk about doing reflections and intentions. Okay, what came up for me? And it can be a challenging moment, but you'll be able to use that and learn something about yourself and then move on. So when you can switch that headspace, and if you look forward to the next challenge, right? Okay, what's life going to throw at me? I got this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Sam. Well, this was just a very lovely conversation.
Same.
I
I'm
had a
glad we
good
were
time.
able to connect.
I
Good.
we could chat for hours.
Oh gosh, don't tempt me. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, and also sharing your journey too, and just being open and honest and vulnerable. And if there is anybody watching who is in that really isolated, dark place and feeling like you have tried everything, I think from listening to this, there is hope, and there is a lot that you can do. So if you are committed, like we spoke about, and you are disciplined and you are ready to show up and do the work, you can apply for the Love Your Skin program. I'll pop the link in the bottom. But thank you so much for your time, Sam. It was really a pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very, very grateful for you and your team, and yeah, wishing the best, and yeah, just keep going with your mission, and yeah, sign up, everyone. Sign up.
Thanks, Sam.
Okay, bye, Alicia. Take care.
Bye.